Today we are going to be starting Unit 2, and we are going to be talking about exponents and radicals. We're going to start with simplifying expressions with zero and negative exponents. So first, we are going to take a look at some notes. So I have mine already, and I'm starting on page 14. I have mine already kind of filled out here. You are going to get a blank 3-page paper with this. You can color it as you like, but they need to be stacked on top of one another, where the center is going to say to glue the law of exponents on top. And so as you color and you glue these down, you're also going to cut along the dotted lines inside as well. So when you cut along the dotted line, it allows you to open up a flap revealing the rule underneath and then an example underneath that. Today we are going to focus on the zero exponent rule and the negative exponent rule. We will hit others during the unit. I do want to review with you the power rule, and that says that if you have an exponent raised to another exponent on the outside, that you multiply those exponents together. So an example of that would be 8x squared, all raised to the third power. Everything gets the power of 3, so this becomes 8 cubed, and this becomes x to the 2 times 3, which is 6. And for right now, we're not going to worry about simplifying the numerical expression. We're going to be working with variables. Another rule that we want to take a look at is the product. The zero exponent rule. What that says is anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So here my example is y to the 0 power is equal to 1. And then our negative exponent rule says that any negative exponent is going to be rewritten as the reciprocal. So if it's a fraction, you flip it. If it's a whole number, you turn it into a fraction. But the exponent stays with the variable and you make it positive. So my example is 5x to the negative 4. The 5 stays up top, but the x to the negative 4 becomes the fraction, and we turn the 4 into a positive. Let's take a look at a couple of examples, and remember, you can always come back to this sheet, and we will always refer back to this when looking at our examples. So our first example is a to the negative 3, b to the negative 4. Remember from our rule that we want to take and rewrite this as 1 over a to the third and 1 over b to the fourth. And I can actually write this as one whole fraction, 1 over a to the fourth, a cubed, b to the fourth. And this is my final simplified rule. Okay. Example 2, we have 3 to the times x to the negative 2 divided by y. The only thing we are concerned about here is this x to the negative 2. We want to make it so that there's no negative exponents. So the 3 and the divided by y stay. This x actually now becomes the denominator, and the 2 becomes positive. And if you want to rewrite it so that the 3's in the center, you certainly can. And we're going to put it in alphabet order, so a squared y. Example 3. Continuing on, the 12 times x times y to the negative 3. Only the y to the negative 3 is a negative exponent. So 12 times x stays in the numerator. The y becomes the denominator, and we turn the 3 to a positive power of 3. Example 4 is a little different. I've taken an expression and raised it to the negative 1. So our first step is to distribute that negative 1 inside to everything except the 4. It's on the bottom. It doesn't get it. So now I'm going to rewrite this so that I have 1 over 3 to the first times 4 times x to the first. And I can actually simplify 3 times 4 to be 12. And then the x just gets written without the 1. Example 5, we have 2x to the negative 2 divided by 3 times y to the negative 1. So let's first distribute this negative 2. So this is going to become 2 to the negative 2, x to the negative 2, over 3y to the negative 1. And now I'm going to come below and we're going to take a look at those negatives. We want them to be positives. So this y on the bottom is actually going to move up top and become a y to the first power. The 2 squared comes down times the 3 that was already there. And then my x squared comes down. And I simplify this to be y divided by 4 times 3x squared, which is y divided by 12x squared. Okay. All 5 of these dealt with negative exponents. Now let's take a look at what happens when we have a 0 in there. Anything to the 0 power, remember, is negative 1. I'm sorry, it's positive 1. So if the 0 is on the outside, then that means that everything in here is going to be 1. And then I have this negative exponent down here. So I'm going to bring that up to the top. The 4 and the y squared stay. So if we want to do it in pieces, this is 1 over 4w to the negative 1y squared. And then we come here. And then my final would just be w divided by 4y squared. Okay. Again, another example with 0. Since the 0 exponent is on the outside of everything, I need to write this as 1. That's my answer. I don't have to do anything with these negative exponents because everything is being raised to the 0 exponent. And last but not least, we have 3 times r to the 5th raised to the 0. The 0 is only on r to the 5th. So I have 3 times 1, and 3 times 1 is 3. So we have looked at multiple examples where we have negative exponents, zeros thrown in there, okay? And remember that we always want to, if we forget, come back to our foldable here where we can open up the 0 exponent rule and the negative exponent rule and look at an example so we can see exactly what we need to do. We'll have more practice in class.